I'm just gonna say right now, if you have yet to see the preview of next week's episode, I want to say do not watch it. Do not watch it, and I recommend you stay clear of that. Because it doesn't reveal everything, but next week's episode is the moment I have been waiting for since I read it a long time ago in the manga Fairy Tail. It's finally happening next week. I don't want to dive into it and explain, but next week it is finally happening. The scene that I don't even want to spoil. I want to talk about it, but I can't. I just put it this way. I'm not even gonna do it. I'm too tempted to talk about it. I'm not. Okay, so this week's episode of Fairy Tail, we get to dive into Mira's past, and that's in of itself very nice. I like the way this episode did that. It was just so fucking good. But what makes it so good is the atmosphere behind Mira's past. We come to finally find out how Mira joined Fairy Tail, how Elfman, Mira, and Lisanna joined Fairy Tail, and how they kind of got their powers, or how two of them got their powers, and how Mira got her demon-type powers, which wasn't completely dived into, but we got to see how she kind of got it. So, from what we see in this episode of Fairy Tail, is half of the episode focuses on Mira and her fight, and getting to see what has happened to her and how she got this demon-type takeover power, and we get to see it. For one thing, we see how, in the past, there was some form of crisis with this demon that was attacking the town, and Mira went and attacked this demon, whatever it was. We didn't really get to see what it was, but it has to look some form of, like, you know, Mira's transformation when she uses takeover. But we get to see how she goes after this demon. And in the act of this, it's like her hand becomes cursed, and the town looks at her, like church, religious people, and everybody, they look at her like, you're a fucking demon. Your entire family is probably working with the devil. And that's kind of what, you know, the town was looking at. So eventually, because of the actions of the town members and what they did to Mira's family, they kept throwing things out their windows, having pitchforks and stuff, like, get the fuck out of this town. That's what they were doing to Mira. And so they got chased out of their hometown. And in the act of this, we saw a journey for probably weeks, maybe even months. It didn't really give us an exact time frame, but our characters, Mira, Lisanna, and Elfman, traveled around for a very long time, trying to find a place where they belong. And while they were traveling, they went through many hardships, but all they had was each other. And as they finally came across the town, they found the Fairy Tail Guild, which they joined. And so we kind of see how they got their abilities as well. For instance, how Elfman and Lisanna got their abilities was because they felt bad for their sister, that they wanted to feel like they were like each other. For instance, they wanted Mira not to feel like she's by herself with her type of power, to look like a freak or a monster, and so they got some form of takeover power to where they could help out Mira. So, a very good episode to actually give characterization to Mira, and I don't think majority of anyone expected an episode like this, which was very odd, because you would think this type of stuff wouldn't pop up like right now, but even after so many episodes, like 272 episodes, we're still getting characterization and backstory of certain individual characters of Fairy Tail, and I'm glad this was a Mira episode, because I like Mira. She's one of my favorites in Fairy Tail, besides Erza, of course, but I do like Mira quite a bit, and so to see how she got this episode kind of to herself, it was definitely fun. Now, besides the backstory of Mira, we also have it to where Mardgear, oh my god, Mardgear, man, he makes his move, and he activates Plutgrim, I think that's Plutogrim or whatever, I can't say the full name, but so you know, it's the giant-ass fucking cube demon monster that was, you know, summoned in this episode. Well, it comes alive, and we come to find out this giant-ass floating cube is actually a living creature, and Fairy Tail is inside of this creature, and they kind of got absorbed by it. Kind of similar to Majin Buu, in a certain sense. Like, you see how they're stuck to flesh walls, and they're just trapped, and they're no longer moving, and the only person that's kind of left alive at the end of this episode was Lucy. Well, she, right now, is the only last standing member of Fairy Tail that can actually even put up a fight against anyone. I mean, think about it. There's a lot of enemies right now of Tartarus that could fuck up Lucy. And I mean, you have to also factor this in, which many people tend to forget, is that Lucy is the main character. A lot of people tend to not remember that. And that's something I do want to talk about. And get prepared, because you're going to expect some very badass things next week. And many tend to forget Lucy is the MC. She is. It's not Natsu. I guess you could consider Fairy Tail in entirety as the main character, but in reality, it's actually Lucy that is the main character. And so, prepare yourself for Lucy. Fuck, I'm not even talking about shit! Okay, so, Fairy Tail, if you have to go watch this episode, go watch it. Just go fucking watch it. It was a very good episode. Good characterization for Mira. Second half of the episode, Mardgear making his move, about to kick some fucking anus, and I cannot wait. I just can't. I really can't right now. I cannot wait to hear the soundtrack for next week. Oh my god, dude. They better play some of the Tower of Heaven theme songs. They better play some of those theme songs. I want to hear one of those songs. I really want to hear one of those songs in next week's episode. I can't wait. And judging by probably how it's going to go next week, we're going to be left on a bitch of a cliffhanger. I know it. We're going to be left on one of the worst cliffhangers imaginable from this season. I already sense it. I sense it. I'm preparing myself for the salt for the cliffhanger. I know that cliffhanger is going to be fucking terrible. But, yeah. Get ready, everybody. Fairy Tail is about to have a very good episode. If the animators and the production team and everything gets on top of it and does next week's episode justice, prepare yourself for probably one of the best episodes of Fairy Tail from this year. Hands down, yeah. Probably the best episode of Fairy Tail 2014 in general, or probably one of the best episodes of Fairy Tail entirety, if it's done well next week, because that's how good it is, how good of a moment it is of Fairy Tail. So prepare yourself. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.